gotta go. I am a god. Okay.
Jennifer's Body is a supernatural horror comedy directed by Karyn Kasuma, starring Megan Fox, Amanda Seyfried, Johnny Simmons, Adam Brody, with J.K. Simmons and Chris Pratt. Let's take a quick look.
You and me are going out tonight. Wear something cute, okay?
You always do what Jennifer tells you to do.
It's just that I like the same things that she likes.
Hey, Jennifer. You look really pretty.
Why don't you just come by my place? That was random.
This isn't really your house, is it?
We can play mommy and daddy.
No way.
We always share your bed when we have slumber parties. Jennifer's evil.
I know.
No, I mean, she's actually evil. Not high school evil. Chip is looking really cute to me lately. How is he tasting these days? You are never a good friend. You could have anybody that you want. Why Chip? You're killing people. No, I'm killing boys. Are you scared? You only murdered boys. I go both ways. I will finish you if I have to. Okay. You can barely finish gym class.
Welcome back to the Cult of Films. I'm so happy to be back with you discussing a film back from 2009 that, I admit, at first glance, I kind of threw away. I kind of didn't give it a second thought. I was even surprised that I watched it in the first place. Since then, I've not only changed my stance, but I actually have come to really love this film. And what is Jennifer's Body? Is it a vapid Twilight for boys? Or is it an underrated, smartly written, female-led gem? Is written by Cody Diablo and produced by Jason Reitman. Their first collaboration was on Juno, the comedy drama starring Ellen Page and Michael Cera. Reitman actually directed that film, and Cody Diablo penned it. So if you're a fan of Juno or just that kind of like mid-2000s dry humor, like Jennifer's Body is very smartly written and very quick-witted and kind of along those lines, just with over-sexualized and horror element satire involved. Childhood friends, hot slutty stereotype Jennifer and hot nerd stereotype Anita are forced on a collision when a faux rock band travels to town and incorrectly sacrifices a non-virgin to Satan for Nickelback fame, which transforms Jennifer into a not only social but actual succubus that rips through the local population teen male stereotypes like jocks and emo kids. Let's talk about director Karyn Kasuma. This is a name that's actually popped up on this very show before. She did a very underrated film in The Invitation, but before that, she also went on to do Girl Fight, which I think she kind of exploded on the scene for, and Aeon Flux. Just seems like I'm becoming more and more a fan of Karyn Kasuma. Her films really age well, and I think that when this film came out, it's not even arguable, but most movie critics, especially of that time, now I feel like we're kind of broadening and diversifying a bit, mostly just like white male. The film came out, it's just like, oh, it wasn't scary enough, or it wasn't sexy enough, and who was this for? It just feels like, you know, Twilight for boys. But I feel like with the themes of like female empowerment, I think that if this film came out in today's social climate, that maybe it would be taken a little bit more seriously, which is kind of funny to say about a teen slasher succubus film. And let's talk about why this film didn't work. And that, I think, the biggest reason is the film's rating. Being marketed as a teen, you know, slasher romp, but being rated R, you're already kind of alienating your base. It's not to say that, you know, rated R horror movies, especially now, can't be successful, because I think there is a whole new renaissance of horror now that is pushing the limits. However, like I said, I think it was all the marketing. You know, this was kind of marketed toward your cruel intentions and your disturbing behavior, you know, your young teen date night base, and those people couldn't even show up to buy the ticket. But it was smart enough to garner a cult following. A lot of people, I mean, this film is very polarizing. You either love it or hate it, but you can count me in the ranks of advocating for this movie. I think there was a lot of studio pushback as far as when it was in development. They wouldn't kind of let them go far enough as far as the blood and gore goes. They removed a lot of the graphic nature of Jennifer's kills. That kind of stunted the growth of the film, so it wasn't able to grab that young fan base that it was marketed to, but it also wasn't able to go full like gore porn and kind of satiate a more mature audience either. But what we could talk about is what did make it to screen, and I think that a lot of great performances and a lot of well-written dialogue. I think that our two co-leads is the best film performance from both of these actresses in Amanda Seyfried and Megan Fox. And Amanda Seyfried, I feel like she's kind of fallen off lately. She did kind of dip her toes into being a more serious actress, but I think that when she is in these kind of character roles, like in Jennifer's Body or Mean Girls, is really how she shines. And although she plays kind of like the straight man in this, and she's a lot more muted as far as like not giving the comedic opportunities that the other characters in this film have, I feel like she's a good complementary piece, and she keeps up with the witty dialogue. Megan Fox is just full on funny in this. I haven't been the biggest Megan Fox fan. I don't think that that's really a fair statement though, because she has been kind of typecasted throughout her younger career. Just kind of was placed there as a product to look at. And Jennifer kind of turns that whole stereotype on its head, and I think that she is really up to the task to kind of parody the kind of characters that she always winds up playing. You get some really fun supporting performances from J.K. Simmons. Like, he's not screaming at anyone. He's just kind of this nerdy, like, science teacher. But you have Adam Brody, who plays, like, the most douchey version of just, like, a faux rock band, and he just plays it to a T. He does a fantastic job. And then you have a really uncharacteristic role of, like, a chubby Chris Pratt playing this, like, redneck, cop in the academy still. It's just fun. This is all pre Guardians of the Galaxy and all that, before Chris Pratt became, on the level of like the next Robert Downey Jr. or Chris Evans. It's just really funny to see him in this role. And he did have a couple other roles like this. If you kind of look in his early filmography, he was always kind of the funny, sometimes the funny fat friend in the background, kind of a complimentary piece until he, was discovered to have like real leading man chops. Not only do the themes translate well now or hold up as a film in general, but like I said before, the effects were actually really brilliant, mostly practical. There's that great scene after the transformation happens with Jennifer where she's just like eating like this disgusting chicken and like vomiting this black tar that's like moving around, and that's all practical. I mean, there was probably a little CG with the tar kind of moving, but Megan Fox said that it was just like an apparatus on her mouth that spewed out literal Hershey syrup on the floor, and they just had to do take after take with Amanda Seyfried getting vomited on, but at least she was just covered in chocolate syrup. I like the attention to detail as far as her transformation goes and her character goes, because you have just like stunning Megan Fox is like one, and then like the more hungry she gets, you start seeing these little tiny subtle details of just kind of ugling her up, as Needy says in the film, as making her look like a normal person and not Megan Fox, where it's just like kind of removing layers of makeup. But it also is like her eyes get a little bit more sunken in every time. Her like veins are more pronounced. The pallidness, she looks a little clammy. I think the makeup was stellar. And then when she goes just full on demon, unhinged jaw snake face, they actually use like a photo identical version of Megan Fox, because it was just too much to kind of put that on and off jaw mechanisms to this other actress, kind of like a stunt actress that looked exactly like her, and so she would be like her stand-in. So every time the kills would happen, they would film Megan Fox doing the things, but then they would overlay it with her like body double or her face double, and get some really cool elements. Like I said, it's not a super gory film. You see a lot of the kills off camera, but it's not even like I mind that at all. I think it was effective enough, where it kind of pans away when she's eating the jock to J.K. Simmons. It gives him some fun comedic opportunity, and then you hear the kill off screen, and then you get to see the aftermath, just like Bambi eating this jock kid's guts, which was I think was pretty effective. You see what you need to see. It's so scaled back that if they chopped off all the F words except maybe one. They probably could have gotten a PG-13 rating and probably could have played to the base that they were marketing to. Later on, released a director's cut to have like the full dialogue released, which and that's the thing. It's hard to say if I would have even liked this movie at all if it wasn't so kind of irreverent and lewd. Instead of dick and fart jokes, you have like vagina and period jokes, but they're just done so well and with such good timing that it just works perfectly. And I think that if you would have watered that down at all, that you wouldn't have gotten the soul of the film correctly. As far as like not being sexy enough, I think it was just on par with what was going on around that time. I mean, even Amanda Seyfried said that she was quite uncomfortable with the makeout scene with Megan Fox, that she was just giggling a lot during the whole thing. And they both actresses kind of felt like it wasn't really central to the plot to have that scene happen. It just felt like more of a promotional tool. I think that the truth is kind of somewhere in the middle. They do play on a lot of themes throughout the entire runtime of Amanda Seyfried's character, Needy, having some kind of lesbian tendencies or lesbian feelings towards Megan Fox or Jennifer. The scene lingers a little bit and it feels a little skeezy, but I don't feel like it's completely out of place in the grand scheme of the story. Half the critics said it should have been more of a comedy. Half the critics said it should have been more of a horror. I feel like Karyn Kasuma, Diablo Cody, Jason Reitman, and all the performers really did a great job of marrying those two together perfectly. And I definitely recommend this movie to genre fans or comedy fans, or even if you saw this movie back in 2009, try it again now and see what your thoughts are on Jennifer's Body. See if it changed at all, because mine definitely did. I wrote this movie off completely, and then I watched it again a couple years later. I'm like, oh man, it was like watching a completely different film. It's a ton of fun. No, it's not, Academy Award winner or anything, but that's not what it's meant to do. Also, if you want like a little expanded story for Jennifer's Body, the graphic novel is excellent. It expands the story through the eyes of the POV characters of Jennifer's victims in a very Rashomon effect way, where you really know who people are and the story is not really told through a reliable narrative. But that's this Cult of Films on Jennifer's Body. I implore you to go check it out again. It is a ton of fun. Or am I wrong? Leave in the comments below. Tell me if you liked it back then, or if you hated it back then and your opinion has changed or stayed the same now. You could support this show by clicking the like button found downstairs, or you could subscribe to the channel for more Cult of Films content and other movie content. You could also share this around and let people know that we are reviewing films on this channel. If you want to support this show or the other shows on this channel further, you could do so by going to patreon.com, becoming a patron. And if you want to talk more films with me, you could do so by finding me on Twitter at OrzovDone. Until next time, I'm going to walk home in the daylight because I don't want to become a lasagna with teeth.